Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Here I am back to talk to you more about writing. Today, I'm going to show you how to take any idea that you have for any kind of writing and turn it into a story, not just a premise, not just a little idea, but actually a story. And I'm going to do that with the StoryADay Short Story Framework. I'm Julie Duffy, the host of StoryADay, the challenge that runs for a month in May and September, both months of the year. And thousands of writers join every year to go through this month of enhanced creativity, and you can do it too. I know it terrifies people a little bit. It kind of should, because it's a big commitment, and it's you pushing yourself to do more than you think you can, which is always a little bit scary. So the tool that I have for you today that I want to talk about is the short story framework, which I came up with just analyzing the basic underpinnings of any story that you could come across in Western culture. Basically, a narrative story, we talk about them having a beginning, a middle, and an end, but it's not just that. It is also, there's a narrative pull through each of the stories that helps us to get there. So some of you will already have this short story framework that I'm talking about, and some of you will not. So if you don't have the short story framework yet, let me share a link here. Oh, where did my banner go? I had a little banner all ready to put up for you that I was going to be all flash and tech savvy and share it with you. And now I'm going to have to type it in while you're watching, because technology, where did it go? There it is. Okay. So if you don't yet have the short story framework, that's how you can get hold of it. And you can download it. And basically, it is a way for us to take an idea and go through it with logical steps to put the story into place. Now, I'm stalling a little bit because my computer didn't open up the framework for me, and I'm busking. Okay, so basically every story tends to contain a character, some stuff that happens, and a change. And that's all there is to it. We get very uptight about all the things that we need to do right to get a story correct, or to make it engaging. But basically, if you have a character who wants something, and something happens in your story, then you're onto a winner. One of the things that I found that happens with a lot of people when they're writing a short story is you get into the middle, you've got a premise, you've got an idea about what you might write about, and you get into the middle and it sort of starts to drift because we get caught up in the language, or we think about all the possibilities. So one of the things I've done is I've put together this kind of Mad Libs fill in the blanks form, which is the StoryADay framework. And you can do it, you can fill it in before you start writing, or you can fill it in as you're in the middle of the story and getting lost, to pull yourself back to the story that you wanted to tell. So basically it goes like this. Somebody, give them a character, give your character, for example, give yourself a character and an adjective. For example, an ambitious mummy. This is college time here in the US. Everyone's dropping their kids off at college. So, let's think about the process of when we were helping them go through their applications. So an ambitious mummy, and then you want to come up with something that they want or something that they desire. So this ambitious mummy wants her kid to get into a prestigious college. So the desire is get into a prestigious college, and then you want like an action. So this ambitious mummy is pursuing acceptance at a prestigious college for her kid. So there's your premise for the story. Sometimes we come up with this stuff really easily. We come up with a premise, and then we never get any further. So this framework that I'm taking you through right now helps you to go beyond the premise and develop the actual story. So we've got my ambitious mummy who's pursuing acceptance at a prestigious college for her kid. So they take an action. What can she do? Well, in this case, I'm going to say that she hires a tutor. So the first thing any reasonable parent might do if their child is struggling and not getting the grades they want, they would hire a tutor. So I'm going to start with the reasonable action. You don't have to. You could start with the first like crazy, wacky, most out there action if you want. But so we've got our character, we've got their desire, and we've got the first action they take that kicks off the story. In this case, they're hiring a tutor. And because of that, they're expecting their kids' grades to improve, but they don't. So once we've done that action that they've taken, there's a consequence. This parent hires a tutor. The consequence they expect is that the kids' grades are going to improve. The consequence they get is different. So you could go either way. Either it could work out, and then your story's kind of short, or you have to come up with a new problem. In a short story, you probably want to keep to one problem, one desire. You want to solve that one thing in this one story because we don't have very many words. Once you start introducing further problems and complications, if you say, hires a tutor, it works out fine. And then you have to introduce a whole new problem and a whole new desire and a whole new set of options for solving it. And that's when your story starts to get bloated. This is a problem that I hear from people a lot with short story writing, is that the story starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they can't finish it. So here's a way to stop it. Pursue one desire, let your character pursue one desire during the story. And when they take an action, if you allow that first action to work, consider not allowing that first action to work. So for example, in this example, hires a tutor, expects the grades to get better, but they don't. So because of that, this ambitious mummy has to take another action. What's she going to do next? Well, you can go anywhere you want, but pulling from recent headlines, I decided that she was going to hire someone to take the test for their kid with the expectation that it's all going to work out fine. But of course, in the interests of keeping my story interesting, it's not going to work out fine. The person taking the test is going to get caught. So the consequence of the action, she hires someone to take the test, the consequence of the action is he gets caught. And because of that, she still hasn't realized her desire, right? She still hasn't got her kid into this prestigious college she wants to get them into. So she has to take another action. So what's that next action going to be? Well, in my story, I decided to go a little stray a little from the headlines in real life and take this in a more dramatic way. I decided that she's going to hire a hitman to take out the guy who took the test so he can't testify, so they don't get sent to jail. So that's another. So we've got the ambitious mummy pursuing acceptance at a prestigious college for her kid. The action she takes, she hires a tutor expecting it to improve the kid's grades, but it doesn't. So she hires someone to take the test, expecting that will get the kid into college, but it doesn't work out because the cheater gets caught. So she hires a hitman to take out the person who took the test for her kid before he can testify against her and get her sent to jail. And you could keep doing this forever. That would become a novel. At this point, my story is getting quite lengthy, so I need to turn it around and start shutting down the options. So because she has hired the hitman to take out the ringer to testify, something else is going to happen. The consequence of that is either she gets away with it or she gets caught. In my option, I decide that she keeps she keeps doing these crazy things until, and that important word, until her husband or kid intervenes and talks some sense into her. So in the framework, you're talking about they take an action, and because of that, something happens. And because of that, something happens until something changes. So what's changed here is that the husband or kid has intervened and she's decided that this is not going to, this can't continue. And then the character has to make a choice. In my case, she has to either decide to turn herself in, or maybe she torches her house and flees to Mexico. And then, so that part is writing about what has changed. And there you've got desire, action, change. Then for the end of the story, which a lot of people find difficult, I like to have either a closing image, which reflects the opening of the story, or I like to have an image that can sum up the theme of the story. Sometimes you might want to have just a little poetic couplet that restates the theme of the story for the readers, so that they, especially if you're not tying up the events with a bow, you might want to have like a little thematic statement at the end, which just reinforces what this story was about and what you want to get out of it, what you want them to get out of it. All right. So that's basically the entire short story framework. Why it's important? Well, finishing stories is really important. Starting stories can be difficult, but if you don't finish stories, then you're training your brain in a couple of negative ways. You're training your brain to understand that you don't need to finish stories, that writing stories is frustrating, that when you sit down to write, you're going to not finish and not get that little hit of dopamine that comes from actually completing a task. And you're not going to teach yourself how to actually craft stories, actually craft an entire story. The other thing that this short story can do for you is it can help you brainstorm the entire plot of a novel. You know, you can have the big picture view of what your turning points in your novel are going to be, just using this same framework. And that in turn can help you with the task that every novelist loves, which is summarizing your novel. When you go to write the back cover copy if you're self-publishing, or if you have to write a summary for an agent and publisher if you're pursuing the traditional publishing route. If you use this short story framework, you can get to the essentials of your story without getting distracted by all of the events that happen in your story. It can help you to summarize your story. So there are some of the things that I wanted to talk to you about the short story framework today. You can download the framework there from that link. Now that I have shown you how it's important, I thought I would just give you a quote from one person who wrote back to me and about this framework after she got it. And she said, this was from Elizabeth, and she said, "I've been looking for something like this to help me turn my thousands of little notes and titles and ideas into actual short stories." And that's the beauty of this. And that's the beauty of the challenge that's coming up next month, StoryADay September, which you can also sign up to get all of the writing prompts for, so that you can use this framework to turn all of your ideas and your fragments and titles and character sketches into stories, and you can experiment throughout the month of September. So join us for StoryADay September. You can again download the framework here, and I hope that you will use this to continue your writing. If this was at all useful, share it with a friend. And come back tomorrow, because I'm going to talk tomorrow about how you can take all of this and actually fit it into your day. I've got a system for writing a story within 40 minutes. Now, it's not going to be a perfect story. You're not going to get like a 4,000 word publishable draft done in 40 minutes, but I'm going to take you through a process to get a full draft, first draft of a story at least sketched out in 40 minutes, so that you have something to work with. There's the old cliche, it's easier to edit it's impossible to edit a blank page, which is very true, unless you've got scissors and you want to make art. But tomorrow I'm going to be talking about this 40-minute story method that you can use to get stories pumped out so that you've got things to work on, things to edit, things to develop. And it will keep you going throughout September, even if you are super busy. We can write in little fragments of time if we have the tools and the habits and the methods in place. So come back for that tomorrow, and I will see you soon.